All right. So that's the first one. Here's part 2 because I accidentally hit the wrong button to pause. So we shaded below. So when it says shade, we shaded below this line when we tested that point. So our goal is to shade always the coordinate that's on the true side. We're going to do a couple more. So some steps. The first step is to solve for x and graph that coordinate on the x-axis. That's always step 1. The y term is just deleted. The second step is to solve for y and graph the coordinate on the y-axis, which we did, just like that. In our particular same problem here that we're working on. The next step, the fifth step, is which way you should shade the line. If the inequality is facing the variables, then you are to shade above the line. Oh, pardon me. So if we're going to plug in 0, 0, I'm going to, instead of doing it this way. So scratch that out. So this is where you're going to plug in 0 for x and 0 in for y. And you crunch it out. If the inequality is not facing the variable, then you must shade below the line. No, that's not correct either. Well, it's not a perfect way. You're going to plug in 0, 0 and you're going to shade it into the true side. Once you get that done, you're all done. Alright, let's practice a couple so we get a little better understanding. Make these a little bit bigger. So, we have negative 9x minus 12y is less than or equal to 54. So, to find the x-intercept, we put a 0 in for y, so it disappears, that term with the y. So we have negative 9x, which I'll write down here. Negative 9x is less than or equal to 54. We solve for x by dividing by negative 9 to both sides. And we're going to get x is greater than or equal to 59 divided by negative 9. I'm sorry, that's supposed to be 54. Sorry. 54 divided by negative 9. Put that in the calculator. And we're going to get negative 6. So x-intercept is at negative 6. Then we got to now solve for the y-intercept. We do that by putting a 0 in for x, so negative 9 times 0 is 0, so we just get rid of the x term. And we have negative 12y is greater than or is less than or equal to 54. We divide both sides by negative 12. So then we do 54 divided by negative 12, and we get negative 4.5. So I plot the coordinate negative 4.5 right there. And we know the x-intercept is at negative 6, so we plot a point there. We then connect these two coordinates by a solid line because there's a line underneath in the inequality. It's less than or equal to. So we're going to connect it via a solid line. I'm going to make sure this line goes all the way through the entire graph, just like you see there. Now, to determine which way is to go, I'm going to put a 0 in for x and a 0 in for y. So we have 0 is less than or equal to 54. That is a true statement. So we plugged in at 0, 0 points. So that means this coordinate here is on the true side of this line that we drew. So that means we shade all of this side. And all those answers that we shaded are all correct answers. So we shaded above, and the line was solid, opposed to dashed. Let's do another one. Here's number 2. So we have negative 9x plus 1y is greater than 9. So you could probably do all the math in your head here, because they're nice and small numbers. But just to get used to the practice, we put 0 in for y, so that y term is deleted. We have negative 9x is greater than 9. You divide both sides by negative 9, and you're going to get x equals negative 1. So the x-intercept is at negative 1. Then we got to do the same process here for y. We plug a 0 in for x, so negative 9x turns into 0. Positive 1y is greater than 9. So that means 9 divided by 1 is 9. So the y-intercept is at 9. We then connect the two coordinates. Make it all the way through the graph. Now this is just greater than, there is no equal to, so that means this has to be a dashed line. So I'll make this a dashed line here for us. So when there's no line underneath, if it's greater than or less than, and it's not less than or equal to or greater than or equal to, then it's going to be a dashed line like you see here. Next, we're going to plug in 0 for both x and y. So negative 9 times 0 is 0, plus 1 times 0 is 0. So 0 is 0 greater than 9? Well, that's false. We know that's not true. So that means this 0, 0 coordinate right here is on the false side. So that means we have to shade the other side of this dashed line. So everything over here needs to be shaded. Because all of those on this side, the left-hand side of this line, or the left and up, it's all shaded. Alright, let's try another one. Number 3. So we have negative 13x minus 7y is greater than 45.5. To find the x-intercept, we plug a 0 in for y, so negative 7 times 0 is 0, so we delete it. Negative 13x is greater than 45.5. We're going to put that into the calculator. So we do 45.5 divided by negative 13, and we're going to get negative 3.5. So the x-intercept is negative 3.5. Then to solve for the y-intercept, we put a 0 in for x, negative 13 times 0 is 0. And we have negative 7y is greater than 45.5, so I put that in a calculator, 45.5 divided by negative 7, and we're going to get negative 6.5. So my y-intercept is negative 6.5. Plot those two coordinates, negative 6.5, located right there. Negative 3.5 is located right there. Now this is a greater than, there is no equal to, so this is going to be a dashed line when I connect it and be all done. Made a nice dashed line here. Now we're going to put 0, 0 in for both the x-axis and the y-axis. Or sorry, for the x and the y, so we put 0 in for x, 0 in for y. Then you get 13 times 0 is 0, minus 7 times 0 is 0. Is 0 greater than 45.5? No. So that means that 0, 0 coordinate is false. So we have to shade on the other side of this dashed line. So everything over here is all the correct answers. That's shaded region. All right, let's do one more. Graph the following slope-intercept form equation on the graph below. So we have 8x minus 13y is greater than or equal to 52. So to solve for the x-intercept, we put a 0 in for y. So negative 13 times 0 is 0. So that gets deleted. We have 8x is greater than or equal to 52. So we got to do 52 divided by 8. And that gets you 6.5. So the x-intercept is 6.5. Then, to solve for the y-intercept, we put a 0 in for the x. 8 times 0 is 0. Negative 13 times y is greater than or equal to 52. So you do 52 divided by negative 13, which we get negative 4. So our y-intercept is negative 4. Plot a coordinate at negative 4. The x-intercept is at 6.5, so we plot a point there. We connect the two to make our line going through the graph. We know it's a solid line because it's greater than or equal to. It has that little equal to there, so that's how we know it's a solid line. Now the shading, we're going to put the coordinates 0, 0 in. We're going to put 0 in for x, and we're going to put the 0 in for y. 8 times 0 is 0, minus 13 times 0 is 0. Is 0 greater than or equal to 52? No. So this coordinate 0, 0 isn't on the correct side. It needs to be. All the correct answers are on this side of the line that we drew. So we shade this side because we want to shade all the true answers, or all the correct ones. So that's our answer. Alright, classwork and homework. Now if you have any questions, feel free to email me or come to Extra Help. I'll be happy to help you out. Alright, have a good night.